delighted to be joined on the line by Claressa Shields, an undisputed female boxing champion of the world since April 2019. And we'll also talk about Claressa Shields' upcoming world title fight versus Ivana Hapsin on October the 5th in Flint, Michigan on Showtime. I suppose, Claressa, first of all, I want to start off by asking you, growing up as an early child, where did your love of boxing first begin?
I started boxing in Flint, Michigan at Burston Fieldhouse. It was a recreational center in my hometown.
Yeah, and would any sort of family members influential in getting you involved in boxing, or were you involved in other sports like basketball, tennis, soccer, or what made you stray towards boxing?
Well, before I boxed, I played basketball, I ran track, and I played volleyball. And boxing just kind of interested me because it was like I was influenced by my dad, and then from there I just kind of went to the gym, and I liked, seeing them train and seeing them box inside the ring, and I thought to myself, I can do that. So once I started, I kind of just fell in love with the sport, and I was already kind of fighting outside the ring. But inside the ring, it was more strategic, and it was fun, I guess.
And I suppose growing up as a young teenage girl, and you've distinguished a passion and interest in boxing, did you have any sort of female role models to look up to, or were many of the role models that you looked up to in relation to the boxing world growing up as a young teenage girl, were they all male boxers?
Well, growing up, I didn't know any women fighters for a long time. I think the first woman I ever looked up was Franchon Cruz, who was an amateur like myself, and we were both getting ready for the Olympics, and that's when I was 13. And 4 years later, me and her ended up having a fight against each other for me to make the Olympic team. But all my role models were men, and the first guy I ever really looked up to in boxing was Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
I watched a lot of documentaries on him, read books on him, and that's still today one of my favorite fighters. And then I found out from Muhammad Ali about Sugar Ray Robinson. And I looked him up, and he became one of my favorite fighters. So, yeah, those are my favorite fighters growing up.
And I suppose, Claressa, your sort of first coach was Jason Crutchfield, your sort of coach and trainer throughout your sort of amateur career. And starting off pursuing a sort of an amateur career, was it hard to get fights? Did you to travel all across the country?
Yeah, so I used to go like long spurts without boxing. So I started boxing at the age of 11. And I had got my first fight when I was 12. So my first 6-7 months of boxing, I didn't even get a fight. And then we had to travel to Columbus, Ohio, which is 4 hours from us, for me to get a fight, because we had been to Detroit a couple times, and we couldn't get a fight in Chicago. So we went to Ohio, and I got my first fight. And then after my first fight, I had TKO'd a girl, I think, like, in the first and second round. Then from there, by the time I was 13, out of boxing for 2 years, I only had 5 fights.
Okay.
I was 5-0 with 4 TKOs or something like that. And I just remember having fights here and there. We used to travel to Canada, and I used to get fights. We traveled to it was called the Ringside World Tournament.
Yep.
And it was always in Kansas City. We would travel there, and I would get fights sometimes. But it was like I would only get fights during tournaments, and I would have more than one fight, like the Junior Olympics. And I didn't realize I had a whole lot of fights till I turned 16, and I was fighting the open division, which at the time was 17 to 34. So I was fighting girls who were 17 years old or 34 when I was 16.
Okay.
And that's when I started getting a lot of fights. But I remember at the age of 15, I went 9 months without getting a boxing match. I was in the gym training, working out, traveling with my team, which was I was the only girl, so it was all guys, and they all used to get fights, and I would just always be uncontested.
And I suppose, Claressa, I'll sort of propel you now further in your career, and to the stage of your first Olympic trials in 2012, and you were the youngest boxer at the trials, and you won the event, the 75 kg middleweight division. Being the youngest boxer at the US Olympic trials in 2012, what were your expectations? Were you going in for just to experience the whole scenario, or did you go in there with realistic and what you felt ambitions to make the US Olympic team?
Oh, I was going there to win. My expectation was to come out being ranked number 1 in the US, so I could represent the United States going to the Olympics. That was my main goal. Even though I was the youngest, I had already studied those girls. I knew at the time it wasn't a lot of tape out there on me, but I had studied every girl I ever got inside the ring with before I even fought them. I already had knew about them. And so it was like, I didn't know. The only thing that shocked me when I was 16 was how strong the other girls were. Because I know I was strong, but you know, the girls were 25, 27, 30, and 31 years old, and I was only 16. So getting inside the ring with them, they had a different kind of strength than myself, but I was still able to overcome that and to beat them. So, I definitely went to the Olympic trials thinking we're going to leave here being ranked number 1 in the world. Well, in the country, we're going to fight in the Olympics. That was definitely my main goal since I was the age of 13. That's when I found out that there would be late women fight in the Olympics in 2012. Is when I was 13 years old, 40 to 5.
Yeah, and I suppose, Claressa, you make the Olympic teams, the US Olympic team. There's obviously euphoria, great excitement. When you actually arrived in London for the 2012 Olympics, what was walking around that athletes' village? What was your initial reaction? What did it really sink in? Then did you say, "Wow, this is beginning to hit"? Was it a eye-opening sort of experience for you?
Out moment was I really wasn't big into watching TV, so I really didn't know a lot of other athletes from other teams, except for like seeing like the commercials that they have for USA that I would see on Instagram or Twitter. So I knew a lot of track athletes and I knew the basketball players, but it was just crazy to see like LeBron and to see Paul. It wasn't Paul Pierce. It was Chris Paul, and to see those guys in Westbrook and Kevin Durant and Carmelo Anthony, when I seen those guys, I really like the thought hit me like, wow, I'm really at the Olympics with the best athletes in the world. And then after that thought hit me, and then after that thought hit me, my second thought was, hold up. You are one of the best athletes in the world. That's why you're here. So once that hit me, I had a whole new perspective, because instead of me looking at them like, oh, they're celebrities and they're big stars and they're here to win Olympic gold medals, it finally hit me like, yo, you're a celebrity. You're fighting for an Olympic gold medal. And, you know, you're one of the best athletes in the world. So once that hit me, I just was like, wow. It kind of made me not freak out when I seen other celebrities who I was such fans of. And then I started meeting people that were fans of me, and it just kind of threw me for a loop. And I was just like, yeah, it's time to really get focused, and it's time to really not, you know, enjoy the experience of being here, but actually accomplish what we're here to do. You know, and we're here to win an Olympic gold medal. So it really made me focus in. The other top athletes that I admired. It really made me focus.
And I suppose, Claressa, you achieved that. You won the women's middleweight division in the 2012 London Olympics. You went on again and you won it in the 2016 Olympics. And even before going into the 2016 Olympics, was it in your mind after that Olympics that you would be turning professional?
No, it wasn't in my mind to turn professional after 2016. I may have thought about it, but I really didn't make a decision until after I won. But it was like months later, and it was more of just like, what would be best for my legacy? You know, should I go back to the Olympics and get get 3 Olympic gold medals, or should I turn professional and, you know, become a world champion? But it was like, in the women's boxing scene at the time, for the professionals, it was kind of dead. And I hadn't seen a woman fight on TV in a long time, so I was kind of scared a little bit, like, if I do turn pro, and they don't respect my 2 Olympic gold medals, and they don't respect my achievements, I'll be kind of like sitting on a shelf, and I won't get to fight on TV, and, you know, I won't be able to help grow the sport. So I just was like, and then at that, will I make any money? You know, being an amateur, I was getting paid sometimes during the year, it was $3,000 a month.
Yep.
And getting closer to the Olympics, it was $5,000 to $6,000 a month. And then you'll get your bonuses for winning tournaments. So I'm like, I can't go from getting that to, you know, fighting $4,000 for a 10-round fight.
Yep.
And that's what I heard at the time. So I really didn't know if it was a spot for me in the professionals, but I just kind of prayed about it, and I said, and it was like God gave me a message, and He said, if women's boxing is to grow, you're going to be the woman to do it. So you need to turn pro, and He just told me to trust Him. So I turned pro, and then everything started lining up itself. I really didn't have to do much. It's like I turned pro, and I had the perfect team. I had the perfect manager, Mark Tackett, who was the vice president of HBO. I had the perfect promoter who was a boxer before, who actually knew about me coming up and had watched me box and believed that I could beat any world-class athlete, even if I had three or four fights. And he had the connection. So it was like me turning pro, everything kind of just came to me, and all I had to do was train and fight. That was it.
And I suppose, Claressa, your debut was in November 2016, and you beat Franchon Cruz by unanimous decision. And I suppose that sort of a debut, I suppose there's an awful lot of, you're a big celebrity going into that fight, you're making your professional debut, all eyes are you, all the camera, TVs on you in relation to put on a show, and with that brings that sort of extra burden of expectation. Was there any bit of butterflies in the stomach before the match, before the fight?
It wasn't any butterflies. It was just like so many distractions. You know, I mean, being a professional fighter and it's being put on the papers that a woman fighter is fighting for $50,000 her professional fight in Las Vegas. The first time that there were fights at the T-Mobile Arena, because that was Andre Ward versus Kovalev 1. And to fight on an undercard of that, it was like I had the same kind of media exposure as him. And I had to do so many interviews and so many, interviews and face-to-faces and meet and greets. And it was just crazy because I never had to do that before a fight. And then at the same time, I'm trying to make sure that I can make the weight. I'm trying to eat. I'm trying to train. And then once all my family and friends got there, you got family and friends doing where we get along. And I had to constantly like take my mind off boxing and, you know, care for my family and care and stop the arguments. And then like getting ready for a fight, you know, dealing with the trash talk of your opponent online, you know, and it was just so much stuff to deal with. And then you deal with the trolls telling you women's boxing shouldn't be fighting and just all this crazy stuff. And it was just different for me. And then getting inside the ring with Franchon, knowing that she's a heavy hitter. Now we have smaller gloves with no fucking head. So it was a couple of things that was on my mind getting ready for the fight. And I fought against Franchon a couple times. And I just was like, you know, she hits hard, I hit hard. It's a 4-rounder. But once we got inside the ring, like, I didn't really have any butterflies. I was more of just ready to fight, but I was also like, my mind wasn't all the way there. And I got hit a lot that fight, and I hit her a lot that fight. And I was just a more strategic fighter, and I was able to come out with the win. But I just remember, like, I'll never take those kind of punches again from being off focus, ever again. So after that fight, I really started applying things the right way and making sure that I had somebody else to deal with, my family, my friends, and somebody taking me off social media getting ready for the fight, and somebody to help me deal with the interviews and the calls and stuff before the fight. So I wouldn't have to focus on that. It was a major change for me, but I definitely was able to learn after my first fight.
And I suppose, Claressa, I speak now about in August 4, 2017, you beat Nikki Adler in Detroit for the WBC Super Middleweight title and the vacant IBF Super Middleweight title. Then in January the 12th, 2018, you beat Tori Nelson, who was coming off a real unbeaten sort. She yet to beat defeated, and that went the distance. And then June the 22nd, 2018, you beat Hannah Gabriel by unanimous decision despite an early setback, getting knocked down the first round. And you're under a new trainer, John David Jackson. And what are your sort of three memories of those three fights? First of all, coming a champion, beating Nikki Adler, then coming up against Tori Nelson, and then working under John David Jackson for the first time and setting that early setback against Hannah Gabriel, but responding fairly well, getting the victory.
Well, so fighting against Nikki Adler, she was really disrespectful to her. She made it known to the media and to the fans that she didn't even watch any film with me, that she didn't even know how I boxed, and she was just going to come in, keep her belt, and go home. And I thought that was the most disrespectful thing ever, because I've always done homework on all my fighting. And me watching her box, I thought to myself, she's too slow. She don't have the defense. And despite her being a world champion, the girl she was fighting was way less class than me. So I knew going into that fight that I was going to destroy her, but I also was going to destroy her for the disrespect. That's exactly what I did to get the fifth round knockout. So then we fast forward to Tori Nelson, 17-0, 3 draws. She was probably one of the most awkward fights that I've had so far. And fighting against her, even though she was 40 years old, she was very crafty, and she was smart. And even though I hurt her and tried to get the knockout a couple times, she just, just had that older woman strength and knew how to hold her ground. And it was a really good fight for me, but I won every round to become the champion there. And I learned some things from that fight.
Yeah.
So then fast forward into those fights that we just spoke about, were at 168 pounds. So now I'm going down to 160 pounds and having to lose weight, getting down to 160. I hadn't been under 160 in almost, 6 years, because in the Olympics, I fought at 165. That was my weight limit, which was 75 kg. Now I'm going down to fight at 72 kg. And making a weight the first time I fight against Hannah Gabriel at that weight was hard for me. And going all those months without boxing, between the Tori Nelson fight and then the fight with Hannah Gabriel, I had got up to 180 pounds. I don't know how many kgs that is. Okay. But 180, which is 20 pounds. Yeah. More than a weight. So I never had been 180 pounds before. So I had to lose all that weight to get ready for the fight. And then I had lost weight incorrectly, because the week of the fight, I was 162 pounds, and the 3 pounds would not come off. I was training, I was in the steam room, I was running, and the weight would not come off. So I really struggled to make weight for that fight, and I starved the whole day before the weigh-in to make the 160-pound limit. And, going there with Hannah Gabriel, she was a strong fighter. 18 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, and she had 10 knockouts. Yeah. And she was coming up in weight, so she kind of had the advantage, to not have to be the one lose weight, but to actually come up in weight. And so I was kind of drained in our fight. She was super, hydrated and ready. And even though, despite of me feeling the way that I felt, I still want to fight. Even though if I knocked down the first round, I still, put my teeth together and I started letting my hands fly and I went into the combination. And I remember the 7th round, her coach was looking across the ring because he wanted to stop the fight because I was dominating her. Mm-hmm. Despite her winning that, despite her, dropping me in the first round, I still won every round after that. So with that fight, after that fight, I got a nutritionist, and that's my first fight I had with Coach John. Mm. And we just learned each other, and my nutrition team just taught me new ways to lose weight, and I'm so grateful for that because now I don't struggle with any weight class right now in making weight, and I lose weight very easy, and I'm always hydrated, never hungry, and I eat leading up to the fight. Even the day before the weigh-in, I still eat and drink a lot of water, and I still make the pound, and I still make the weight limit. So I'm thankful for my nutrition team, Professor Athlete, and my coach, Coach John Davis, because he has taught me a lot. And just the main thing is just staying calm before the fight. Like, I'm always super hyped. Some people get nervous, and I'm not a person that get nervous. I get super anxious, and I get really excited, and I, just waste a lot of energy before going out. So now that, Coach John noticed, he told me, before the fight, I want you to stay calm, listen to gospel, or listen to, some R&B, or listen to some sweet music to keep you calm, because if I listen to rap and Meek Mill, I kind of be in a dressing room just kind of like going crazy, and I can almost have like a party in the back room before the fight because I have so much energy and I'm so excited, and it's more of like I have to force myself to stay calm getting ready for the fight. And
I suppose one thing about you, Claressa, in April the 13th, 2019, you achieved what many women want to be known as, any male boxer wants to be known as being an undisputed champion of the world when you defeated Christina Hammer by unanimous decision. And there is 2 women boxers that have achieved that task, and one other is Katie Taylor from Ireland, who is the undisputed lightweight world champion as well. So you sort of rank out there on your own relation to pound for pounds the best women in boxing there today. And to know that yourself and Katie are probably the most 2 glamorous names in the women's boxing today, both of you undisputed world champions, that must sort of create a sense of rivalry and a sort of maybe possibly a dream fight down the line if it was ever on the cards.
Well, Katie is way smaller than me, She's, I don't know if she fights at 130 or 135, but I know myself, I've come from 168, so now I'm at 160. Yeah. And my next fight is at 154. I feel like 154 is the lowest I can go on weight, just because of health purposes. Yeah. But of course it would be a dream fight for me and Katie to fight, but I don't think that fight is realistic because of our weight, you know. I don't know if she would have to come to 154 and fight me and we would get a fight, or at least make 147 pounds, and she's never been that big. So. Katie will handle business in the smaller weight classes, and I'll handle business in the bigger weight classes for now. But I wish her the best of luck. And, I was there when she became an undisputed champion. It was a very hard fight for herself. And I think that she had to bite down, to get the win. I feel like the fight maybe would have been 6 to 4 rounds in her favor. Yeah. Or it could have been a draw. Yeah. Because Delphine Pursuit can put it all on the line. So, with that fight, I know that she definitely has fought against some tough girls in her weight, and she's fighting against the best just like myself. But that's just to prove that, us amateur women who came from the amateurs and went to the Olympics, that we are the better fighters, and that we can get in the ring with any woman fighter and win. So, props to her, and of course props to myself, and for us to just being great athletes and taking the biggest challenges, because for us there weren't the best women fighting the best women. Yeah. Layla Ali didn't fight against Ann Wolf, and Christy Martin didn't fight against Lucia Riker. So now you have me and Katie Taylor who's fighting against, the girls who are ranked number one in the world in our weight classes, and we're handling business. And I know Katie doesn't have, I only have almost two handfuls to fight. I know Katie has more. She has more fights than me, but she's still doing her thing and fighting the best, and that's what women's boxing needs.
And I suppose onto your own big fight now on October the 5th, 2019. You were supposed to fight earlier on, Claressa, but a knee injury sort of curtailed that plans. But you're up against Ivana Habsin, a Croatian who was an IBO champ in 2018. I suppose memorably her biggest fight in her career so far was against Cecilia Brockhaus in 2014, which she lost. But she comes with a record of 20 wins, 3 losses and 7 KOs. She's a 29-year-old. It's for the vacant middleweight WBO middleweight title. You're fighting in your home crowd in Flint, Michigan. You must be really excited and a dangerous opponent all the same.
Well, the knee injury was one of the first injuries that I've had over the past couple of years that was super, that actually took me out the gym and took me off the treadmill, and I really couldn't train, so it was hard to deal with. But now that 6 weeks has passed, I'm happy that I had time to do my summer camp here in Flint. And now the fight is rescheduled, tickets are on sale, and my hometown is really, they're really excited, and I'm just ready to, perform and fight. But overall, just, making the weight for this fight is going to be so easy. I've already lost 10 pounds in the last 2 weeks, and I just feel like, getting ready for this fight. I haven't fought at home since I was 18 years old, so now I'm 24. 6 years later, I'm undisputed champion, 8-time world champion. It's just so much that I'm looking forward to just fighting in front of my hometown and giving them that, hope and that belief that, even though we come from Flint and we have all these different kind of issues going on, that we can strive to be great people, not just great, athletes, but great people, and that we can be successful. Despite what the media says or what the people say, Flint is one of the worst places to live in, and all this kind of stuff. When it's not, we have really great people, and we're a fighting time. I just can't wait to perform in front of everybody. Becoming the fastest woman or male fighter to capture 3 divisions the fastest. Right now it's Lomachenko. He conquered his feet at 12 fights. I'll be becoming a 3-division champion in 10 fights. So I'm super excited about that. And knowing that it'll add more money to my payday. And me, I'm just working on trying to get a knockout. It's hard trying to get knockouts when you fight against the best girls and don't really have that much experience. But I feel like out of all the fights that I've had, I've learned a lot, and I'm figuring out how to get the knockout now. It doesn't just, come, but I'm figuring out, you have to set it up. You got to break your body down. You got to break your head down. I'm figuring out all that stuff now over these 9 fights, and now I feel like I'm ready to get the big knockout. So I think that Ivana will be put to sleep here in Flint, Michigan.
On that note, Claressa Shields, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you on the airways this evening. Looking back on what no doubt will be remembered when you do finally put down your gloves in an iconic career. As you said, an undisputed world champion, probably pound for pound one of the best women boxers in the world, and an Olympic gold medalist. We wish you all the best in your upcoming fight against Ivana Habsin. We encourage all our audience and all our boxing Irish and Tunis fans to tune in wherever they can and see the fight and see Claressa claim her task in relation to Lomachenko. And we wish you all the best, Claressa Shields, in your future endeavours. Take care.
Thank you. You too.